August 27th, 2016. The final evening of Vina's life. Vina sat inside a small neighborhood salon beside her best friend, Linda. She was getting hair extensions done. But something about that night already felt wrong. As strands of her hair fell onto the floor, Vina quietly asked the salon owner if she could take the cut hair home with her. The woman laughed nervously. "Why would you want dead hair?" she asked. "They recycle it. Someone else will wear it someday." Vina forced a smile. But the idea disturbed her, because in some cultures, hair carries energy, memories, even pieces of the soul. Outside the salon, the sky had already turned dark. Linda and Vina walked through a crowded night festival, trying to enjoy the evening dunt. Then Vina's grandmother called. Her older sister was running late. "Don't go home alone," her grandmother warned. Vina promised she'd be careful. Moments later, her boyfriend Zaki arrived on his scooter. Linda hesitated. Something felt wrong. Then suddenly a nearby food vendor dropped an entire tray of metal pots onto the street. Everyone turned in Indonesian superstition. That sound meant disaster was coming. Linda's face turned pale. "Take a cab," she whispered. But Vina smiled. "It's okay. I'll be fine." Those would become some of the last normal words she ever spoke. The roads were nearly empty as Zaki drove through the city. Then they noticed them, a motorcycle gang. Watching, following, waiting. At first, Vina ignored it, until one of the bikers suddenly accelerated forward. A steel rod smashed into Zaki's head. The scooter crashed instantly, before they could even stand. The gang surrounded them. No warning, no mercy. The attack was savage. They beat Zaki until he stopped moving, and Vina screamed for help that never came. The next morning, police called it an accident. Simple, closed case. But something didn't add up. There were no skid marks, no damaged road barriers, and strangely, the scooter itself barely had any damage. Yet Vina's body was destroyed. Broken arms, deep wounds across her face and body. Someone wanted her suffering hidden forever. That same night, a paranormal investigator named Denny sat alone in his room researching the case online. Everyone else believed the accident story, but he didn't. Something felt wrong. As he scrolled through Vina's social media profile, his screen suddenly glitched. A weak female voice whispered through his speakers, "Vina, help me." Denny froze. The room temperature dropped instantly. And somewhere inside the darkness of his apartment, something moved. By the second day, Vina's home no longer felt like a house. It felt like a grave. Family members filled every corner, dressed in black, whispering prayers through tears. But one person was missing: Linda. Vina's best friend hadn't shown up. Not at the hospital. Not at the funeral.com. Nowhere. And that terrified everyone. Because Linda and Vina were inseparable. If anyone should have been there, it was her. Inside a small candlelit room, Vina's grandmother prepared her granddaughter's body for burial. Her hands trembled as she cleaned the blood from Vina's face. She saw the truth the police ignored. This wasn't an accident. Her arms were shattered, her legs crushed. Bruises covered almost every inch of her skin. The old woman collapsed beside the body, unable to breathe, because deep inside, she already knew someone had down. Meanwhile, Linda locked herself inside her bedroom, curtains closed, lights off. She hadn't eaten in almost 2 days. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Vina screaming. Then, sometime after midnight, Linda finally fell asleep. And that's when the nightmare began. Wind howling softly. Linda opened her eyes, but she wasn't in her bedroom anymore. She stood alone inside a giant empty field under a blood-red sky. The dirt beneath her feet started moving. Then, hands, dozens of pale human hands burst from the ground, grabbing her ankles, pulling her down. Linda screamed, but no sound came out. And then she saw her, Vina, standing far away in a torn white dress, her head twisted unnaturally, blood running from her mouth. Slowly, she began walking closer, closer, closer. Then suddenly, Vina grabbed her own jaw and ripped her mouth open wider than humanly possible. A black shadow crawled out from inside her body and rushed directly into Linda. Linda woke up screaming. Her mother rushed into the room. But something was wrong. Linda's voice no longer sounded normal. She looked toward the closet and whispered, "Linda, he lied. He lied about what happened." Then her body violently collapsed onto the floor. The next morning, Denny visited the salon where Vina had spent her final evening. The owner, Hesti, looked terrified the moment he mentioned Vina's name. At first, she refused to speak, but eventually, she told him something chilling. "In our belief," she whispered, "a soul stays on earth for 7 days after death." Denny listened carefully. Hesti continued, "If a person dies with unfinished pain, unfinished anger, unfinished justice, the soul cannot move on." Denny's stomach tightened, because suddenly, everything made sense. The voice, the nightmares, the strange sightings. Vina wasn't gone. She was trying to tell them something. That afternoon, Denny discovered information about a local motorcycle gang called the Moonriders. Violent, unpredictable, feared by everyone. And their leader was a young man named Iji, the same boy who had been obsessed with Vina for months. According to classmates, Iji constantly harassed her, followed her, threatened her, and when she rejected him publicly, something inside him snapped. Weeks before her death, Vina won a local modeling competition. The entire school celebrated her victory, but Iji watched silently from the crowd, angry, humiliated. Later that evening, he cornered Vina inside a bathroom. He grabbed her wrist, tried forcing himself on her. But Vina fought back. She spat directly into his face, then escaped. Unfortunately for Iji, several students witnessed everything, and from that moment on, he became the laughingstock of his own gang, a humiliation he never forgave. That night, Meggie sat alone inside his room, trying to forget everything. Then he heard dripping water. Slowly, he looked toward the floor. Water spread across the room, and in the middle of it, ice cubes, dozens of them. His breathing stopped, because years earlier, the first gift he ever gave Vina was ice cream. And before she died, witnesses said she had eaten ice cubes to ease the pain from her injuries. The lights suddenly went out. Darkness swallowed the room. Then, Vina appeared behind him. Broken bones, twisted limbs, blood-covered eyes. Meggie screamed as the spirit slammed him against the wall. Invisible hands crushed his arms. His legs bent unnaturally. He begged for mercy, but Vina only whispered, "Vina, feel what I felt." The following day, Denny returned to the crash site, but this time he searched beyond the road. Deep inside nearby farmland, he found something horrifying. An abandoned warehouse hidden between empty fields. Beer bottles, chains, broken helmets, gang symbols painted on the walls. It was the Moonriders' secret base. And suddenly Denny remembered Linda's nightmare. The field, the darkness, the hands. This was the place Vina had been trying to show them, which meant the truth was worse than anyone imagined. Back at home, Linda finally opened the letter Vina had given her the night she died. Inside was a handwritten message, Vina. "If someday I disappear, promise me you won't let them erase me. I'm tired of pretending I'm not scared. I feel like something bad is coming." Tears rolled down Linda's face, because for the first time, she realized Vina knew she was being hunted. Suddenly, the room temperature dropped. The lights flickered violently. Linda stopped breathing for several seconds. Then slowly, her head turned toward the mirror, and another face appeared beside hers. "Vina?" Linda began shaking uncontrollably. Then, in a voice that wasn't hers, she screamed. It wasn't an accident. The windows exploded open, and everyone inside the house froze in terror. By the third day, death was no longer silent. It was speaking, through dreams, through voices, through people who were never the same again. And now, Linda was no longer just Linda. Something inside her had changed. Something that wasn't fully human anymore. Denny arrived at the police station with Vina's grandmother and sister. They were desperate now. No more waiting. No more silence. But the officer in charge still repeated the same line. Official report. Traffic accident. The grandmother slammed her hand on the table. Grandmother, look at her body. Does this look like an accident? Silence filled the room. Even the officers looked uncomfortable, because deep down, they knew something didn't fit. Denny showed them everything he had collected. Inconsistencies in the accident report. Lack of skid marks. Damaged timeline. Witness gaps. Gang activity in the area. But the most disturbing part was Linda's recording, the one she sent while crying. In it, Linda described everything she remembered. The harassment, the gang, the attack, and the truth. That Vina never died in a simple accident. She was tortured, then staged. The room went silent after hearing it. Even the officers stopped speaking. That night, Linda woke up alone in her room, but she wasn't alone. Something stood behind her. She slowly turned toward the mirror. Her reflection smiled, but she didn't. Then, in a broken voice, she whispered, "Linda, they took her. After she fought back, they wanted to break her." Her voice cracked. Tears mixed with something darker. Then suddenly, she slammed her head against the wall, again and again, until her mother rushed in screaming. Dark, heavy music. The truth begins to unfold fully. That night, Meggie and his gang were waiting. They didn't just follow Vina, they planned it. After the scooter crash, they dragged Vina and Zaki away from the road, to a hidden base, the same place Denny later discovered. There, the violence escalated beyond anything human. Vina begged for help. Zaki tried to protect her, but they were outnumbered, helpless, and brutally beaten. After everything, they made a decision. To erase what they did, they returned both bodies to the road, placed the scooter carefully, made sure everything looked normal, and walked away, leaving behind a scene designed to fool the world, and it worked. The police called it an accident. The case was closed, but Vina was not finished. Denny returns home exhausted, but his computer turns on by itself. The screen flickers, and a message appears. Fourth day. Then a voice. Soft, broken, close. Vina. Why didn't you believe me sooner? Denny steps back in fear. The lights explode, and for a second, he sees her. Standing in the corner of the room, watching, waiting. Far away, Maggie wakes up in a hotel room. But something is wrong. Water is dripping from the ceiling. Ice cubes are scattered across the floor again. The same pattern. The same message. He screams for help, but no one answers. The lights flicker, and suddenly, every mirror in the room shows Vina standing behind him, slowly getting closer. E.G. collapses. For the first time, he is afraid, not of police, not of gangs, but of something he cannot fight. At Vina's house, the grandmother sits alone, holding Vina's picture. She whispers, "Grandmother, if you are still here, I will help you." The candles flicker, the room turns cold, and for the first time, she hears Vina's voice clearly, not angry, not violent, just tired. Vina. I just want them to admit it. Denny gathers everyone. He says it clearly now. This wasn't an accident. This was a planned murder. And the final truth is coming closer. The gang members are starting to panic because they feel it too. Something is hunting them. Not police, not people. Something else. Across the city, strange things begin happening. Broken mirrors showing Vina's face. Phones playing her voice at random. Sudden drops in temperature. Dreams of a girl screaming for justice. And every person connected to that night starts to feel it. The countdown has begun. 7 days, and now only 3 remain. By the 5th day, there was no longer doubt, only fear. Because now the truth was no longer hidden. It was spreading, and those who tried to bury it were starting to lose control of their own reality. The recording had gone viral. Within hours, the entire city was talking. Screens replayed Linda's shaking voice again and again. News channels debated. Police could no longer ignore it. But behind closed doors, some powerful names were already moving, trying to stop the case from growing further. Because Meggy was not just a gang member, he was protected. Phone vibrating aggressively. Denny receives an unknown call. No voice at first, just breathing. Then a low, threatening tone. Unknown voice. Stop digging. Denny's hands shake. He looks out his window. A black motorcycle is parked outside. Engine running, headlight off, waiting. That night, Linda collapses again, but this time, it's worse. Her eyes open wide, completely white. Her voice changes instantly, not hers anymore. Vina through Linda. They are running, but they can't hide. The walls begin to crack slightly. Cold wind enters the room even though all windows are closed. Linda's body levitates slightly off the bed. Then suddenly, she screams so loudly that glass vibrates. And just like that, she becomes unconscious again. Meggy gang starts breaking. Members disappear. Some refuse to leave their homes. Some confess to family members. Some go silent completely. One of them is found crying in a bathroom, repeating, "She's still there. She's still there." Fear spreads faster than police can move, because now they all know something is coming for them. The sky over the city turns unusually gray. No rain, no sun, just heavy pressure in the air. Denny, the grandmother, and the investigator meet again. The decision is made. They will demand full reinvestigation. Exhumation, re-examination, everything, no matter who is involved. At the cemetery, Vina's grave is opened. Family members stand in silence. Police supervise, but something feels wrong. The moment the soil is removed, the temperature drops instantly, and a faint whisper spreads across the crowd. "I'm here." A few officers step back in fear. Even they feel it now. This is not just a case anymore. Meggy is alone in a luxury hotel room. But it feels like a prison. The lights flicker non-stop. Water starts dripping from the ceiling again. Ice cubes fall onto the floor, one by one. Then the television turns on by itself. Static. Then Vina's face appears, not as a video, but as a reflection behind him. Slowly, she walks closer. Meggy tries to run, but the door won't open. The windows won't break. He is trapped. "You took my voice. You took my body, but you forgot something." "I still remember everything." The room becomes freezing cold. Meggy falls to his knees crying. He begs for forgiveness, but the voice replies, "Too late." Denny and the team finally secure legal action. Warrants are issued. Arrests begin. Some gang members are taken into custody, but 3 key suspects, e.g. included, have already vanished. No trace, no signal, nothing, as if they were erased. At home, the grandmother lights candles around Vina's photo. She whispers softly, "Grandmother, if you are still here, please rest." The room goes silent. Then, a soft wind moves through the house, and a final gentle voice replies, "Vina, I can't rest until it's over." Day 7 begins. The final countdown. Denny receives a final message on his phone. Unknown number, just one line. Today, day 7, the final day, but something was wrong. The city didn't feel alive anymore. It felt like it was holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. Even the police stations were silent. Phones stopped ringing, birds stopped singing, and every clock seemed slower than normal. Denny sits in front of a wall covered in case files, photos, names, locations, connections, and suddenly he realizes something terrifying. Every place tied to the crime is now becoming unstable. People involved are either disappearing or breaking mentally. This wasn't just revenge. It was a countdown system. A final correction. A final lead appears. A remote industrial warehouse outside the city. The same place Linda saw in her visions. The gang's hidden stronghold. Police move in. Denny insists on going to because he knows. This ends today. The warehouse is empty. Too empty. No movement. No sound. Only darkness. Then, suddenly, a single motorcycle helmet rolls across the floor by itself. Clink. It stops right in front of them, and the lights flicker on, one by one, revealing scratches on the walls, and written in blood-like paint, "She is here." The air turns freezing. Denny's breath becomes visible. And then, Linda is there, standing in the center of the warehouse. But she is not fully herself. Her head is tilted slightly, her eyes dark, and her voice is no longer human. Linda Vina speaking. They're all here. They can't run anymore. Police raise their weapons, but no one dares to fire because the air itself feels wrong. Suddenly, Linda collapses to her knees. Her voice changes rapidly between crying and something deeper. Linda Vina, I didn't want this. I only wanted truth. They made me invisible. They made me nothing. The warehouse begins shaking. Metal beams vibrate. Lights explode overhead. And one by one, the gang members start appearing, dragged in by forces no one can see, screaming, begging. Maggie walks in, not running anymore, not hiding. He looks exhausted, broken, like he has already accepted death. He sees Linda, then whispers, "Maggie, it wasn't supposed to end like this." A cold wind hits him instantly, and then Vina appears behind him, fully visible, not transparent, not fading, real. Her broken injuries still visible, but her eyes calm. To calm, Vina, you took my future. Maggie falls to his knees, Maggie crying. I was angry. I didn't mean. Vina interrupts. Vina, you meant every second of it. The entire warehouse goes silent. Even the police cannot move. Vina steps closer. Each step echoes like thunder. Suddenly Maggie screams. Maggie, yes, it was us. We did it. The confession echoes across the warehouse. At that exact moment, all lights shut off. Complete darkness. Then a sound. Not a scream. Not a crash. Something deeper. Like reality itself bending. When the lights return, Maggie is on the ground, unconscious. The remaining gang members are either collapsed or mentally broken. Police rush forward and finally arrest those still alive. Sirens finally break the silence outside. Justice is no longer delayed. Linda slowly wakes up. She looks around confused, then whispers, Linda, is it over? The air becomes calm. Then Vina appears one last time. Standing in front of her, no anger, no pain, just peace. Vina, thank you. Linda begins crying. Linda, don't go. Vina smiles softly. Vina, you remembered me. That's enough. A warm wind passes through the warehouse. Vina's image slowly fades. Not violently, not suddenly, but peacefully. Like something finally letting go. Weeks later, the case becomes one of the most shocking real investigations ever exposed. Several suspects are sentenced. Some disappear without explanation. The official report is rewritten, not as an accident, but as a brutal crime finally uncovered. They say a soul stays for 7 days after death. If justice is not done, it wanders, it watches, it waits. But sometimes, when truth finally rises, even the darkest spirits can rest. Vina's story is not just horror. It is not just fear. It is a reminder that silence can kill twice, but truth always finds a way back.